And now we'll move on to our final album for this month, which is Jolly Dreamworld by Modern Woman.
Tonight, I'll be yours. Dress me too.
And yeah, I know you were familiar with these guys kind of going into this debut, so I'll pass over to you to kick us off on this one.
Yeah, a pleasant surprise for me. It's bonus points at the debut. I always love an album, a band on the rise that does a mega debut. Absolutely love when a band comes through, breaks that mold, breaks the barrier. Yeah, it's proper. It's an art rock delight, really. It's frolic fantasies through a field. It's very impactful in places. So the idea of the album, I believe, is discussion on feminism and basically female operating in this world in 2026. So it's aggressive in parts. It's meant to be discomforting, and it works so well. And in other moments, it's a joyous rebellion. It's the release of emotions, and it's exciting. So, yeah, first listen, I really, really enjoyed it. It harks back similar to the last dinner party, and their amazing vocals from them. So yeah, if you're a fan of Black Dinner Party, I think Modern Woman are your go-to for that gap in between.
Yeah. No, I'd definitely second that. I mean, Modern Woman, one that I wasn't familiar with at all before going into this record. Did have the chance to catch them live at Get Together back in May, so around the time this album was out, but it was one of those that heavy clashing prevented going to see them. But yeah, that it's one of those where this debut album I've actually grown to quite enjoy. I think when we did the last podcast, when I mentioned this to Andrew because it was Andrew's pick. When I initially first went to play this record, it was one that completely caught me in the wrong mood, and I found it initially like quite grating. So it's one of those where I hit play on it, and you know where you're like, you just know it's like not the right time for a record, and you just need to put it on the shelf for a bit of time and then come back to it at a later date. That was definitely me on the first listen. I was like, no, I'm not ready for this album yet. I need to get in the right frame of mind before I go into this one. But I think it's one of those that when you're in, if you're not in the right frame of mind for it, it's probably not always easy listening. But like you say, if you're a fan of modern bands like The Last Dinner Party, 100% they're the biggest touch point, I'd say. Also throw in like Black Country New Road, bit of Wolf Alice. I think you'll find stuff that will win you over here, because that's certainly the case of what happened with me. The sound is very theatrical. It's got those art rock kind of baroque pop moments like The Last Dinner Party, like you mentioned. But I'd say the biggest difference is it's got like more experimental instrumentation. It's got lots of like punk rock energy at points. And the biggest selling point for me is Sophie Harris, just a terrific vocalist. And yeah, once I got into the right frame of mind with this one, it really kind of got my attention. I mean, that opening run with the title track, Neptune Girl, I think, and Offerings, I think is the other one, like solid enough start. But then you get to Killing a Dog, and that's where the album is really like grabbing you by the scruff of the neck. It's a bit of a behemoth, that song. It starts out very like graceful, folky, quite meandering. Harris's vocals like almost operatic. And then these ominous strings come in, and for like the final minute or so, the band just like erupt into like this ferocious like rock crescendo at the end of that song. And yeah, I think it's just fantastic, that track. Daniel straight after, similarly great. Just Harris's like voice with this like gentle like flutter of strings. Much more like stripped back, that song, but just utterly captivating. Four Cart in the back half of the album as well starts off like similarly, like quite stripped back, but then it bursts into like, you know, some stomping rock riffs, and that kind of theme continues through on Blessed Day, which has like this fantastic like central riff running through it, with Harris like doing all these like coos and screeches over the top. And then Dashboard Mary is this really like triumphant penultimate track, that's got that great I'm not saying I'm coming home like refrain, which feels like fitting for like its place in the track list. You kind of get towards the end of the album, and it really kind of like drives home that message. And yeah, and then right at the end, it all kind of ends quite peacefully with The Garden, which is like this really minimalist, like piano organ ballad, where again, it's just Sophie Harris's like voice is like the star of the show for me. So yeah, I'd say like American Football, it took some time to get there with this album, but eventually came to really enjoy this. And like you, I think it's a very solid debut. I think the first few tracks are decent, but really it's those last like 6 tracks for me where the band really step up and come into their own, and I think that really shows their potential. You know, from Killing a Dog onwards, that's where it's like, okay, these are definitely one to watch. So yeah, solid introduction, and very intrigued to see what Modern Woman do next.
We treat how they are in a live circle. Want to catch them. See if that Into the Sea of Air album and progression comes on stage. That'll be something to witness.
Definitely. And yeah, I know Andrew did manage to get to see them. He went to one of their shows, so we'll have to remember to ask him that on the June episode, how he found seeing them live.